Hello, I'm back, as I've made my comeback like 10 times now, but I do actually like my yearly wrap-up videos, and 2025 I thought was a pretty spectacular year for movies. So much so that I'm going to give you a top 20 list instead of a top 10. I don't want to do too much editing for this video. One of the reasons I don't upload much anymore is because I don't love editing. I find it too time consuming and frustrating. I'll show whatever footage I can show, but for now, let's sit by the fire. I think I would like future videos to look like this from now on. Let me know what you guys think. Here are some honorable mentions. Some of you may be shocked at some of these, but honestly, this year was just too stacked. There are just some movies that I love more than others, but that's not to negate these movies either. These movies were pretty fantastic, but I just love these next 20 more. Number 20, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes story. Maybe a bit blasphemous to put this above some of the honorable mentions, but I'm a huge fan of Looney Tunes. But what's been missing from modern day Looney Tunes adaptations is that they tend to feel a bit too tame. The Day the Earth Blew Up feels like a breath of fresh air because they make the Looney Tunes feel loony. The absurdism mixed with the really great physical comedy makes this a really fun and worthy tribute not only to Looney Tunes, but to just old-time comedy in general. At number 19, I have Ari Aster's Eddington. Yeah, I'm an Eddington defender. This movie's aging scarily well already. It's very much an Ari Aster way of describing current America, but current America feels very much like an Ari Aster movie. And of course, as all Ari Aster movies do, it makes me feel fucking awful. At number 18, I have Celine Song's Materialist. Yes, I'm also a materialist defender. I think this movie is a very intelligent take on modern romance and how deep down we're all pretty materialistic, and again, deep down, we don't know everyone face value. Some scenes are way too cheesy, that opening scene especially, but I think if you look past that, you'll get a very interesting love triangle story with great performances, especially from Zoe Winters, who, if she keeps this up, she's gonna be a favorite of mine. At number 17, I have James Griffith's The Ballad of Wallace Island. Just a completely sweet and hilarious comedy. I think Tom Basden and Tim Key have excellent chemistry, and Tim Key specifically gives one of the best comedic performances that I've seen in a while. A completely comforting story with great music and an ending that I'll love forever. At number 16, I have Splitsville. As soon as that opening scene hit, I knew I was in for a good time. Legit, one of the funniest jokes I have seen in a while, and this movie is filled with genuinely creative and borderline hilarious comedy. It's like if a screwball comedy got as raunchy as possible, and all the better for it. Even down to the fact that these guys are the most average looking and immature guys ever, and yet somehow are able to bag Dakota Johnson and Adria Arjona. Same directors to climb, and I might like this better. This feels like a comfort watch for me. At number 15, I have Hamnet. I feel bad for putting it at only 15 because I do love this movie a lot. It feels like a complete love letter to art and how we're able to use art as a coping mechanism. There are just movies that I love more. But nonetheless, Chloe Zhao is truly one of the best directors working right now, and I'm so happy she's able to make something like this. It feels like the emotion just bleeds from every single angle possible, and Jessie Buckley deserves all the praise she's been getting. I've always loved her, and here she didn't have to prove herself, and somehow she still did. An absolutely gut-wrenching performance, as well as Paul Mescal. At number 14, I have Weapons, directed by Zach Cregger. This was my favorite movie of the year when it came out in August. I was floored by it, and I still pretty much am. This is outstandingly creative with an amazing hook, and with that hook it still manages to give time in developing every single character and why their perspective matters. It's funny, it's legitimately creepy, it's interesting. Amy Madigan deserves all the praise she's been getting, and that ending cracks me up every single time. It's such a satisfying payoff. At number 13, I have Marty Supreme. I honestly expected nothing less from Josh Safdie, but this still completely ripped. I love how they explored the dark side of wanting to be the greatest and how, if you're not careful, it can put you in a pretty deep hole, and then manages to say, now what, after you achieve everything. It still has that Safdie anxiety. The character is a piece of shit, but he's still interesting to follow. Timothée Chalamet is outstanding. I think he has that Oscar in the bag. Yeah, great movie. Good Time is still their best though. At number 12, I have James Gunn's Superman. Film bros are probably gonna come for my throat for this. I don't give a shit. This is pretty much everything I want in a superhero movie. I love how hopeful and compassionate it is, and for a mainstream blockbuster, it really had some balls, weaving in modern day events as a means to criticize it, having the balls to have Superman call out people in power. In a way, I see this movie as important as it is hopeful. It gave me such an adrenaline high when I first saw it that I saw it like 5 more times after that. I loved it so much. At number 11, I have It Was Just an Accident. Talk about a movie that's brave, especially with everything going on in Iran, the revolution they're having, and the fact Jafar Panahi has been jailed for making movies criticizing the government. It Was Just an Accident feels like his most simplistic, yet his most haunting movie. And that's not to say there aren't some lighthearted moments, there are some intentionally goofy moments, but as it builds and we unravel this mystery more and more, it starts to become uncomfortable in a good way, leading to an ending that'll never leave my head. That final sound will haunt me for the rest of my life. At number 10, I have Blue Moon. Richard Linklater is my favorite director, so this was no surprise that a movie of his would crack my top 10, but I honestly thought it'd be Nouvelle Vague and not this. But where Nouvelle Vague I enjoyed, Blue Moon presented me with a sense of calmness, yet total complete engagement throughout. Most of it is due to Ethan Hawke's incredible performance. Seriously, the man just starts and does not stop. But the screenplay is equally good. It feels like you're right there involved in this conversation with this very strange, sad, yet energetic and confident man. Despite it being mostly dialogue, as most Linklater movies are, I was never bored for a second. At number 9, I have Ryan Coogler's Sinners, one of those movies where it really just is that good, and every single time I watch it, I can't get it out of my mind. This has to be one of the best blockbusters maybe in the past 20 or so years. There are sequences in this movie that look stupidly hard to pull off, but they did it anyway, and they ended up being some of the most hypnotizing moments maybe in film history? Especially that sequence where we just get this evolution of music in this one shot. I don't know how that was even possible. The style, the music, the horror of it all, everything just feels like it was handled with so much care, and I fully believe this will stand the test of time for years to come. At number 8, I have Yorgos Lanthimos' Bugonia. I think this is Yorgos' best since The Favorite, which is literally my favorite Yorgos movie, no pun intended. Bugonia still has that intensely bizarre style that he's mastered, but he's managed to use that style in a way that honestly makes it uncomfortably depressing. The build-up here in the psychological warfare is so intense, it starts and it doesn't stop, and it leads to this really depressing yet oddly satisfying ending. Emma Stone is brilliant as usual, but Jesse Plemons totally steals the show. His way of making you fear him yet sympathize with him is beyond staggering. I sincerely hope he gets nominated for an Oscar. At number 7, I have Twinless, the most underrated and most underseen movie of the year. It feels like a story that's been done before, but James Sweeney takes a very clever, really depressing spin on it. It's such a thought-provoking exploration of grief with characters that are handled with such care and vulnerability, but it also knows when it unfortunately has to bring us back to reality. For example, I was happy when one of the characters gets into a happy relationship, But as it went on, I thought about how the main plot of the movie, which I won't spoil, would affect it. It's a beautifully written movie with the best performance by a male actor this year by Dylan O'Brien, who I would go as far to say he may be my favorite male actor performance of the decade so far, maybe? Trying not to go too in-depth, but I haven't seen a performance, yet alone dual performances, this believable in a long time, and I'm so sad he's not getting awards recognition. At number 6, I have no other choice, the latest from Park Chan-wook. A sign of a really great filmmaker is when you get familiar with their style, and yet somehow it still blows you away. That's Park Chan-wook. I'm gonna keep this short, but it's best to go into this movie blind. Some of the coolest editing and directing choices, needle drops, and use of build-up that I may have ever seen. I can't tell you how many times I thought, how did they do that? And I'm so happy I caught this in IMAX. At number 5, I have Train Dreams, another movie that I am ecstatic that I caught in the theater. Malick-esque and completely hypnotic, the scenery alone is worth the price of admission. It feels like you're watching the most peaceful movie ever made. But how it deals with moving on after loss and how life moves on and how beautiful it is something that feels genuinely emotional and sincere. Train Dreams feels like it's bleeding pure love from all angles. It feels like both a tribute to nature and humanity, and it sets to remind us that even though the world may present itself as ugly, life is truly beautiful. I fully believe that I can watch this movie on mute and still have an emotional reaction to it. Okay, from here on out, this is like favorite movies of all time tier. At number 4, I have Friendship. People might hate me for this, but I don't give a singular shit. Comedy is my favorite genre of film, and there's nothing I love more than absurdist, awkward humor, and Friendship delivered on all fronts. This is without a doubt one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. At no point does a joke not work. Very rarely, if at all, are the line deliveries off when presenting said joke. And every single time I rewatch this, I notice a new joke. Like, did you know in the garage scene, Connor O'Malley for some reason is wearing a Vietnam veteran's hat? I just love how committed this is to the absurdity. It feels like a complete nightmare at times. Even the musical score is so dreamlike and even at times uncomfortable. This is just something special to me. I adore Tim Robinson and his humor, and if you're a fan of his too, then you'll adore this as well. This is quickly becoming not only one of my favorite comedies, but maybe just one of my favorite movies in general. Okay, here's the thing. 2 and 3 are so goddamn interchangeable. Everything from this point is a 10 out of 10. This was an exceptional year. So much so that the top 3 are basically tied at this point. And maybe 2 and 3 will interchange, but for now, this is where I'm at. Sentimental Value is one of the best goddamn movies that I have ever seen. I can't even tell you how euphoric I felt after it was over. Not only was this completely up my alley, but I haven't seen a movie that felt this authentic and human in so long. The story here is a tale as old as time, but they find a way to give it such a unique style with characters that make decisions that you don't expect. But once you think about it, there's no other way it could have gone. And the structure and pacing of it all is just so damn smooth. And these performances are to die for. Stellan Skarsgård is marvelous here. There isn't a single weak note with his performance. But the daughters, Inga Ibstadar Lilius, I hope I said that correctly, and especially Renate Reinsve, who after this is the best actress working right now, are exceptionally spectacular. Some of the most believable performances that I have ever seen, and it leads to this ending that I cannot get enough of. This was absolutely just mesmerizing for me, and every single thing that I want out of a movie. but we still have 2 more movies to talk about. The fact that Sorry Baby is a directorial debut blows my mind in disastrous proportions. I loved this first glance when I first saw this at Sundance at the beginning of the year, but as time went on, I watched this more and realized that this is such a beautiful and relatable depiction of trauma and moving on from said trauma. Sorry Baby doesn't feel like a movie, and I mean that in the nicest way I can possibly say it. It feels like a friend who has committed to staying with you through all the hardships, no matter how long. It's a truly beautiful script in such a warming direction. The way Eva Victor balances tone in this movie is especially impressive. She manages to find a humor in the situation, but brings the drama back at the perfect time, not making it seem out of place or inappropriate. But enough said about Eva Victor as a writer-director. I need to know where the fuck she has been as an actress. This is, I'm serious, the best breakout performance of the decade, and currently my second favorite leading actress performance this decade. The best thing about it is that she's not showing off. She's not flashy. She quite literally just acts how anyone on this planet acts, and has to somehow not break that personality even when the traumatic event happens. And it's so damn genuine. I don't think I've ever seen an actor perfect the 1,000-yard stare as well as she has. It is devastating. And through all of that trauma and devastation, the ending and how it plays out is so hopeful and loving. I couldn't have asked for a better ending. This is truly one of the best directorial debuts that I have ever seen. I haven't seen a directorial debut this competent in a very long time. But it's not my number one. If you knew me, this was no contest. Sorry Baby and Sentimental Value were fighting for that number 1 spot. But then I saw If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, and that movie shut them both up. Not only the best movie of the year, not only the best movie of the decade so far for me, but again, one of the best movies I've ever had the pleasure in watching. It's not an easy watch, not in the slightest, but it still managed to hook me and keep my eyes glued to the screen, even though what I was watching was so stressful and borderline horrific, and it's all due to the impeccable filmmaking on display here. Every single filmmaking choice here is complete genius. From the frequent close-ups, to the chaotic sound mixing, to the choice to almost never show the child, but have her cry and yell throughout most of it, is just complete nightmare fuel. It makes me want to jump out of a fucking window and onto a sea of spiky rocks. And I love it. Rose Byrne is not only the best actress performance of the decade so far, she's just the best performance of the decade bar none. The amount of stress she has to hold back and hiding all of it until the ending, even though all throughout the movie you can see it is clearly killing her, she's just on another level. I've tried to think of a performance that comes close to what she's doing, and I simply can't. I'm sure they exist, but I can't think of any. And it all comes together with those haunting final 3 minutes. The ending of this movie put me in such a pit of emotional despair that I was completely silent on my drive home. Very few movies have done that to me, where their ending makes you want to die, so good job If I Had Legs. But seriously, how all of that stress pays off is some of the most discouraging and creative filmmaking I've ever seen. I will never get that final line and the sound of the waves overlapping the credits out of my head. If I Had Legs I'd Kick You might not be the movie on this list I go to the most, but it's easily the one that blew me away the most. And I have no issue calling it my movie of the decade so far, and one of the best movies I have ever had the pleasure in watching. And that's it. Again, very sorry that I keep promising to come back, but only really come back for the best of the year lists. I love making these lists, but I'm also an adult. I have responsibilities, so I don't always have the time to make YouTube videos. I'm much more active on TikTok, but I do want to make a comeback to YouTube just with fewer editing. I like this idea of me just in front of a green screen esque fireplace or a picture of me. So if you guys like that, while, also talking about stuff that I love, if you guys like that, let me know. And maybe I'll continue to do it. Anyway, let me know your favorite movie of the year. Don't forget to subscribe and follow my socials. Alright, bye bye.